Under the cover of nightfall, a peculiar little creature goes foraging up in the tree canopy. This is a slender loris.
The slender loris is a small nocturnal primate. It is mostly arboreal and lives off of insects and fruits in areas where trees are close to each other.
Usually 7 to 10 lorises. They have a particular tree, and that way they will be sleeping in the same tree.
Slender loris are nocturnal creatures basically, and they're well known for their eyes because their eyes are, compared to their face, their eyes are pretty huge. So nocturnal, when I tell, they're very active during the night times, and they mainly feed on cicada, crickets, geckos. Of course, they also eat fruits, and they're also known for their robotic habits.
They are arboreal, they live on the tree, they don't come down on the ground. They move from tree to tree to tree, and they pick up whatever insects they find. So during dusk and all, they're very active. They socialize, they say hi and all. And if there's a baby in the group, they actually go play with it, like how we would, if there's a baby in the building, go, kuchiku with it and things like that. So they do that, and then they go their separate ways. So they are solitary, but they're social also.
It is found in parts of South India, and until just a few decades ago, the slender loris was a common sight in Bangalore city.
I think the first time that I saw loris was somewhere in the year, I think 1973 or 74. It must have been in this, somewhere around the 6th, 7th standard. A couple of boys in the Bishop Warden School hostel used to have lorises as pets. That's the first time I saw that. And later on, we used to see, for many years after that, I've been seeing people selling lorises on MG Road, those days in Bangalore. They used to be pretty common, and if I remember right, I think they used to sell it for 5 rupees a piece. This is way back in the years 74, 75, 76.
You walk across Silkwood towards Sarjapur, in that stretch you used to find loris. On the road. That's what I'm telling you.
I did have an aunt who kept one as a pet, and as kids we were very enamored with it. And
it's a very cute animal, okay, and it's not something that moves very fast. It's pretty slow in its movement. So we used to have these boys generally, keeping it around. Sometimes we'll be wearing the blazer and having this thing in the pocket and things like that.
Sadly, the increase in urban deforestation has led to the steady decline of the vegetation cover over India's IT capital, causing slender loris and other urban wildlife populations to dwindle.
So speaking about loris population, it has dropped down a lot. The main reason for that in Bangalore is urbanization. So urbanization, they cut down all trees. Loris are usually found in trees like banyan, people tree, then jamun tree, and in Kannada they call it atimara. So these are the usual trees. So these are all huge trees. And of course you want to urbanize an area, they generally cut down these trees. So that's one main reason.
even the forest minister is more interested in making clearances for forest easier for industries and other developmental projects.
See, way back when I was in my childhood, Bangalore was a place with a lot of greenery. In fact, if I remember right, the kind of birds that used to come to my house, we were very close to the Bangalore Palace. We were very close to Palace Road we were staying. And the number of butterflies and birds we used to see, which used to come to our own house, though we had a very small garden, yet we had so many varieties of butterflies coming, so many varieties of birds coming.
Basically they eat your insects like cockroaches, moths, dragonflies, beetles. So if by reducing their numbers, we are actually causing an increase in the number of the insects, and these will indirectly and directly affect us. So very essential slender loris for the environment, for the balance in the ecosystem.
We have, spoiled everything that Bangalore was. It needn't have gone this way. It could have been done, handled much better, but then ultimately real estate, greed and things like that have just killed the city. They have literally torn apart the city. So I really don't like the way the city has gone. Because I've seen Bangalore from its good old days. Ever since I was born, I've lived here from 1960 onwards. And I've seen some of the best days of Bangalore, so I really don't like what's happening in Bangalore.
The few animals that survived have been exiled to isolated green patches around the city, which further complicates the matter.
Like for example, when all the trees are cut down, they'll have one place, only one place, one tree to go, rather, or one patch of area to go. So there may be a lot of snakes, a lot of raptors, a lot of other mammals which can feed on them. So isolating them or making them into one fragment also affects them.
You need trees connecting these populations. Now, as soon as your tree is gone, it can't move. It's stuck in that particular patches of trees or whatever. Now there, that many males and females will be there in that much area. They inbreeding starts. The diseases, and once inbreeding starts, you can't move out of that place basically. You have diseases coming in. The recessive genes start accumulating within a population which is inbred, and that makes us susceptible to diseases, infection, and we are not helping with our pollution. With our indiscriminate destruction of the environment. So they're small creatures. So imagine it's like a kid, So any extra pollution, any extra level of carbon dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, it will be affecting them. And these are, I'm saying, already inbred populations. So the levels are crashing. So we need highways literally connecting them. At least they have a chance to move away from a close population like what is an IISc. Okay, it's very nice and dandy that IISc has this thriving population and all that, but it is a close population. It is not a healthy population. So in say, okay, now they are fine, tomorrow they are fine, next year they are fine, but in 10, 12 years they will be inbred. What is the point? They will also disappear. And you can't pick up lorises from say Karnataka and put it there. That is not the solution. Plant your trees. Connect. Plant the trees that they like, which they feed on, which the insects that they feed on thrive on. And they are all local trees, and they all grow well in this condition, and they all grow well in this climate.
If we can identify and conserve the patches where these lorises are found, we can conserve a lot of other urban biodiversity within those patches. Studying the animal will also provide an insight into the secretive social lives of these prosimians, which have a very unique evolutionary history. A common threat to a large number of animals, the exotic pet trade has also seen an increase in the demand for the slender loris. The conditions which the animals are kept in and the treatment they receive by the poachers is cruel and causes permanent defects in these institutionalized animals.
People want to keep it as pets. That's another issue, they think it's so beautiful and all that. That is not fair. It needs to live in the forest and it needs to do its job, which is to eat insects, not live in houses and be played with. So that is again a problem.
The thing is that to educate people not to hunt and keep them as pets, somehow this whole keeping exotic animals as pets has become a fad. That has to be discouraged by early education, that is among children, telling them why it is not good to keep pets.
PFA is a wildlife hospital, and apart from just the hospital part where treatments are done to these animals, we also rescue animals, especially this loris, which is of so much importance. In fact, confiscations are a very big part of this rescue operation, and whenever we are informed about such animals, we do make a confiscation from that person, and this confiscation is not only it's not something very simple, or it's not something very direct where you go and pick it up. It is a procedure where you contact the forest department, you contact the police department, and then we coordinate a rescue, right? And while the animal is brought back by us, is confiscated by us, the person goes to the police department. So we have confiscated from a person in the recent past, in the last year. He was doing, there was some ritualistic purpose which he had held this loris for. There was some ritualistic purpose which he had held this loris for. There was some ritualistic purpose.
One of the most horrifying threats to the loris is the practice of voodoo. The animal is taken from its home and subject to gruesome mutilation at the hands of black magic practitioners. Although there is awareness of the use of these practices, it is not clear who does it and where it is carried out.
So loris is used a lot in black magic. This practice is called Kashmora in Kannada. I don't know what they say in English. There's also practice in Japan. So in this Kashmora, what they do is they mimic a human being to a doll. So that doll, they either pierce needles into the doll, they break the doll's arm, they break the doll's leg, etc., etc. So what they feel, or the intention with which they do this is so that the same thing happens to the human being, like somebody's enemy. So for this, they use dolls. So instead of the doll, they use loris.
The beauty of the animal is, since it's a nocturnal animal, it has these beautiful eyes which are considered magical and hence used for practices which are termed black magic in the local areas, and it is very prevalent even today, as you might think with all our education and development and technology we have moved away from that, but you're wrong, because in forest fringes where these populations are available, South India especially, it is very, very prevalent. And why these are more susceptible is because they sleep during the day. They curl up into a ball and they'll be just sleeping. So the black magic practitioners, they kind of also have studied the ecology and the behavior of the animals. So they just simply pluck the animals literally like a fruit from the tree, because the animal is curled up and fast asleep during the day. Take it, keep it in captivity, and then they are subjected to mutilations and certain practices which I have not witnessed. I have not seen it face to face or spoken to these people who practice it, but I see the effects wherein I see these animals which come in a very bad state.
The animal is subject to horrendous acts at the hands of the practitioners, who usually dispose of the loris once the ritual is completed.
Maximum don't make it. Main injuries, what I see is they have hands and legs, limbs just like ours, primates. So they have retractable thumb, they have fingers like us. So the palms are burnt. They are pink, burnt with like blisters. You know, when you burn your skin and you get these blisters, it's like that, but it's red and it's bleeding in most cases. So I think they are burnt. I wouldn't say it's burnt because they are smart enough not to electrocute themselves. They of course they do move from tree to tree to tree, but they don't use wires like monkeys do. Because, so it is not an electrocution wound, and it is you can make out the palms as well as and the forelimb also is affected. So if it is an electrocution, it should only be the things in contact. There is burning on the forelimb, the arm, eyes. The eyes are the main organ that I see that has been mutilated, and in the most cases it is not bilateral. Not both eyes have been affected. One eye has been affected. You know, so it makes you think that what could be the causes. You know, and normally the causes which you encounter in slender lorises are very parallel. You know, all are showing the same kind of wounds. So it makes you think, which infection is this? You know. And which or natural dog bite or electrocution out there, which could be accident. It makes you think, and it all points to black magic.
The animals that manage to get rescued end up having to undergo treatment and eventually have to get amputated, and thus cannot be released back into the wild.
The palm has become black, so it becomes stiff, not usable. The forearm also was black completely, so I had to amputate it. Otherwise, it would just rot. And the animal survived. Very strangely, it did survive and went on to actually recover well. And then when it was recovering and in a bigger enclosure where it was using the three limb. Now it's a three-legged creature. I had to take to the shoulder, cut the whole thing off. So it had to be tripod kind of thing, limb animal. So it very fast adapted to the whole three limbs, because the other limbs are very flexible. If you see the hind limb of the loris, it is like a long forelimb only. So very happily adjusting. We got another loris, another male. This one was a male. We got another male who was rescued before much damage was done. He had very superficial wounds. So the wounds healed well. We mixed the two up together. They became great friends. And so then we decided that we will give the handicapped loris a chance in the wild, because according according to the law, we're not supposed to release handicapped animals. You know, they have to be taken care of. And since his one limb was missing, we couldn't release it, and we were deciding on lifetime care. But then when the new loris came, both of them were thick as thieves, and they started bonding well. They were moving well. They were foraging well on their own. Though we would put the feed, but they would pick up their own insects which they would catch from the branches in their enclosure. So then it was after months of deliberation, we decided we will release it, but in a safer environment. So we went deep inside the Bangalore forest, where there is the safari area. You know, so there are watchers there. There is protection happening there, and there is no chance any black magic practitioners can come and pluck these beautiful things. So we left them there, and hopefully they are doing well, both of them, inside Bangalore.
But unless there is awareness created about the ill effects of these practices, there will never be an end to them.
Okay, the damage has already been done. First, I would like to say that. So whatever is remaining, whatever population is remaining, first thing you have to do is increase the awareness. I mean, especially to general public, because these general public, when they go to these people who are doing black magic, they do it. So if they are aware that this won't work, I mean, it's just whatever they practice, it may be coincidental, sometimes it can be accidental, but they should get this mindset that it's not, I mean, it shouldn't be used, it's another animal, and if something is done to that animal, it's not like the human being is hurt. So they should be educated first. And second thing is, these people who do this black magic, which is pretty famous in Kerala and Kollegal. Kerala is the biggest hub for this, and Kollegal is the second. So if those people are given this education that it shouldn't be done, or any laws which are imparted, of course there's Wildlife Protection Act which stops people from doing this. Apart from that, even the general police or the Gram Panchayat, Taluk Panchayat, whatever that is, everybody is aware of this, they can stop this.
I'm sure even politicians, our so-called politicians, will also be going and doing these things to remain longer in their chairs, get rid of their enemies, and for other petty reasons which we humans have.
Their agendas are very different. For them, wildlife means nothing. So they don't even have the vision to understand, or rather, they don't have the capacity to understand how all this can finally end to destruction. Because they're not really bothered about doing something good. If our politicians were really bothered doing something good, then why would we be in such a mess?
But yeah, it needs to be looked into, and who's looking into it, I seriously questions.
From the blatant destruction of its natural habitat to the savage treatment by poachers and black magic practitioners, mankind is responsible for the reducing loris population. But he's also the one who can save the loris before they're lost forever.